Good morning, y'all. Thanks for waking up at 7:30 in the morning. I'm gonna set these papers right here, and just to give y'all a heads up, I'm probably gonna edit because I wrote that. And my wife told me it was really good, and I shouldn't get up here and wing it, so I'm not gonna do that. Right. But anyway, I'm Joseph Burns. I have lived in Northwest Arkansas since about 2006, 2007. And my experience here has been one that I call movie-like for the most part. So I do work in community outreach and volunteer coordination with Potter's House, but I also get to run group mentoring with Big Brothers Big Sisters, who actually has some people back there. They're great, fantastic people to work with. So with that being said, I'll jump right in it. Quick fun fact about me. About 15 years ago, I used to volunteer right here at the Fayetteville Public Library. I was a kid. I grew up in South Fayetteville, well, South/West Fayetteville. And my grandma worked here, and she would bring me here because she was like, I don't want you hanging out in the neighborhood. Like, she just did not, right? And I'm the oldest of 12. Just to put yeah. Just to throw that in the mix of all of that. Not to cause confusion, but all of the facts are important, right? But like I said, I grew up right here in South Fayetteville, and that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, depending on the individual and what all you've gone through. But like I said, today I want to talk to y'all about mentorship and about what that means, about my life and how things have just transpired to put me here. And I actually titled this "How We Got Here," because as I was thinking about this, I was like, wow, like the direction life has led is mind-boggling. It is very full circle. It all ended up exactly how it should be, right? And I attribute a lot of that to mentors. So to start, I would like to ask y'all a question. How would y'all define a mentor? Anybody can raise their hand and answer. If not, I will just throw out some answers that people typically give. Leader. 1,000%. A guide.
Someone who nudges your life, maybe by one comment, maybe by continual exposure, but nudges your life in directions.
Yes, and yes. All of those things are 1,000% correct. We got one more.
They help you recognize your own strength.
100%. Recognize you or help you recognize your own strength. And that's actually a really important one. But yes. All of that, yes. So the way that I define mentorship is really simple, right? It is an individual who comes into your life either through intention or coincidence, right? It could be fully intentional or it could be coincidence that have significant impact upon you and your end outcome. Right? Does that make sense? I know I want to pinpoint that that's super broad. And that's really intentional because I think two types of mentors exist. You have positive mentors and you can have negative mentors, right? And a lot of times we skip over that second aspect. But mentorship has kind of been the story of my life from both sides of that. Like I said, grew up in South Fayetteville. We moved here from a place called Forest City, Arkansas, which not a great place to live. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. Do not go. Do not stop at the gas station. Don't collect the $200. Keep driving past it, right? But my mom moved us from that area because that area was super rough, and we moved up here and we moved to South Fayetteville in the early 2000s, which was just as rough. And she was like, wow, so many changes, but so much of the same thing. In my early life, mentors were coaches. They were drug dealers. They were gang members. They were preachers. They were pastors. They were friends. They were everybody. I kind of roped everybody into this same box, right? And that is interesting because to me, I knew what was happening in the sense of how I was being influenced, right? Like I'm picking up something from here, and I don't necessarily see it as a positive or a negative. I just see it as life, right? Because oftentimes people who do bad things, for the most part, in my situation, it was bad things done out of necessity that are only bad to the outside eyes. To them, it makes perfect sense. And let me clarify by what I mean by that, right? There are some people in the world who have to do bad things in order to live. And when I say bad things, I don't mean like going out doing heinous war crimes. Not what I'm talking about at all. But there are people that that I know that have had to go to the grocery store and steal their food because they have nothing else to eat, right? And so these are the types of people that I am surrounded with. But at the same time, and it's such a weird universe to live in because I've always felt like I was in two different worlds because I had this gaggle of bad mentors that were good people, right? Taught me really good lessons, showed me really great things. But at the same time, I had this massive population of really positive people as well. And at some point in time, I don't know when it happened, but a kind of a flip switched, and I said, "Huh, they seem to have much better lives." like, like my water's off occasionally. We ain't got no lights. Like they keep fighting back there on that other street. It's weird, but like these people over here, they have figured something out. And what is that, right? And I think it comes down to a big quotable that we say in mentorship. I know it's said a lot around Big Brothers Big Sisters. Is we know exactly what our house is like, but to go into somebody else's house and see how they live and how they operate completely changes things for us. Right. So this is a story kind of in three parts. The first one we just went through, it's what is a mentor? And we described it as basically anybody that can come in your life and have an impact. And quick tip, oftentimes mentors don't know they're a mentor. Like very rarely is it like we signed up for this. Like with Big Brothers Big Sisters, that's the case. Like we signed up for this. We know what we're signing up for. But in the workplace, in your neighborhood, in your school, on your football team, on your basketball team, some of y'all may play rec league softball. Even there, right? There are mentors. There are people that are pouring and investing with us naturally. Again, sometimes it's by coincidence. It's not always intentional. Right. So the second part of this is the impact. That's the second part of the story. I want to talk about that, right? Because the same way there's two types of mentors, there's two types of impacts, right? You can have a positive impact or a negative impact. So let's start with the negative impact, right? My exposure to people that were, again, good people, but in hard situations put me into that same category for an extensive amount of time. I dealt with drug addiction. I dealt with depression, anxiety, ADHD, home issues, personality issues, figuring out who I am in and of myself as well, right? And a lot of that stems from the things that I saw growing up from other people that I viewed as cool, as leaders, as you're someone I want to be like. People like you, right? And so I modeled myself on that behavior. And what I got from it was a decent addiction. And when I say a decent addiction, I don't mean a good one. I mean, like, it was on me, right? I got gang banging from that. I spent years heavily involved with gangs. Years. Even while, I should mention, I still had all of my positive mentors. And that's something really important to remember here. Because the path in mentorship is not a simple one. Right? It's never something that's easy. It can have easy moments, like you guys are going to a water park. Great. That's so much fun. But then there comes time like you're 8 years old in a Walmart parking lot and people tells you smoking cigarettes give you cancer. So you yell at a lady out of your mentor's window that you should stop smoking. It's going to give you cancer. And then he's like, you can't say that to people. He turned the car around, let the window down, and made me apologize. I never said anything rude to anyone ever again. Like, straight up. That's how you teach a lesson, just in case anybody needed to know that, right? But when we talk about the impact, there's positive and negative, right? In that small scenario, there was a positive impact that came from that because I stopped being randomly rude to people all of a sudden. At 8 years old, it really helped out. And on the other side of that, you have the positives, right? And I wrote down some specific examples that I want to use. The first one is Nick. Nick is actually right back there in that corner. He probably doesn't like that I just pointed him out. The veteran hat and the 1776 shirt, everybody. That is Nick. When I was struggling with addiction, Nick was consistent in my life. Nick told me time after time again what was good for me and what wasn't good for me. And even when I didn't listen, and I did not listen a lot, he stayed right beside me. Did not change. Nick also exposed me to something that I didn't figure out until I was writing this, and that he taught me how to love my kid. I, as a teenager growing up with a bunch of kids in a family, you're oftentimes, as the oldest, I'm the oldest, mind you. The youngest is a 6-month-old named Barbara, which do what you will with that information. But but like you don't get a lot of attention or affection or like the basic things you think you would get. And whenever I would go to Nick's house and hang out, Nick lived like 2 miles from me. Whenever I would go over there to hang out and his sons were there, I just saw the way he interacted with them. It was this very genuine, thought out, well developed, intentional, real relationship. Not something like TV, not something where he was trying to be overly nice, but where he was just being a dad, figuring out being a dad. And as I've gone through the experience of the last 4 years, going on 5 years of having a kid myself, right? I think back a lot to Nick handled it like this when his kid got smart mouthed with him. Honestly, that's not a bad way to handle it. It's amazing, right? Because he doesn't even know that he did that. He came here full-fledged just thinking he was going to listen to me talk. He had no idea that was in there. No idea, right? The second story is Potter's House. Potter's House, when I was about 16, had constantly invested in me anyway, right? These are people that were always present for me, no matter how screwed up I was. If they did something good for me and I did something bad in return, they were still present. And that's going to be a reoccurring theme here is presence. It matters much more than anything else. Straight up, right? When I was 16, Potter's House took me to Guatemala twice. I am a poor 16-year-old black boy that lives in the South that, like, is actively involved with gangs. I actively am dealing with real crap at home. And they took me across seas. I'm going to be honest. On the flight there, I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back home. I'm not getting on that flight back home. We going to get out there, and I'm going to just run off. They ain't even going to find me. It'll be all right? Because I was scared. I was like, I don't want to deal with all of the things, right? Whereas all of the people I have right here. And as a 16-year-old, that was a stupid thing to even think because, like, I ain't got citizenship over there. What they gonna do? Like, what am I gonna do? I'm 16. I can't do anything, right? But they took me to Guatemala and they took me to an orphanage. And they allowed me for 2 weeks on 2 separate occasions to go and work at this orphanage with these kids. And that impact was so substantial to me because I went and saw people. When I am the pity party, right? I look at myself as the pity party. I'm the poor kid. I'm the oldest of all these kids. My mom and dad don't have degrees. My mom never graduated high school. Didn't stop her. Let me just give her a quick shout out real quick. Did not stop nothing. My mama does her thing. Very proud of that woman. But they took me over there to experience something different, and I truly did. I came back with a gratitude that I had the opportunity because you think life is really hard when you don't have water, public running water, out the sink, out the faucet, right? But what if your house was very literally 4 sticks and like a metal tin roof and you didn't have shoes and you had 1 shirt and 1 pair of pants and you were still happy? Still happy. Those 2 weeks while I was there, I found something else out about myself. I found out I was a leader. And I found that out because the kids at the orphanage would follow me around and call me Loco Man. And I should have sent Regina a picture. I have a picture of me and these like 40 kids, and they are just copying everything I do. That was the first year. The second year when I went back, it happened again. This time with more kids. But the impact that I was able to leave them as a 16-year-old, are you guys following me here? It piles up, right? It starts to pile up. The next incident is wakeboarding on a lake. Again, poor black kid. I don't have a boat. But someone took me wakeboarding on a lake, right? These experiences that I would not have gotten anywhere else, right? I would not have gone to Guatemala. I wouldn't have gone and did my college visits with Michael, right? I wouldn't have gone wakeboarding. I wouldn't have done mission trips. I wouldn't have done any of these things had it not been mentors. And a lot of you in here are probably thinking to yourself right now, wow, I should get one of those or I should become one of those, right? And first of all, yes, Second of all, you probably already are and you don't realize it. That is kind of what happened to me as I got older. As these experiences started to pile up and started to unlock things for me, it started to show me my own heart. It started to show me who I want it to be, right? And mind you, I'm really young at this point in time, but this is when I say I'm still halfway in and halfway out because that's at 16. I didn't develop my addiction until 18, 19. But guess what? Everybody was still around. I've known Nick for probably 15 years. Nick has seen me be a terrible person. Nick is still my friend. Nick, anytime I talk to him, I end up getting something from him I didn't even know I needed. The same thing happens time after time after time after time again. And when we look at people and we really break down what they are, we're all really mentors. We're all trying to set good examples for the most part, right? We're all trying to be people that people will look up to. We're all trying to lead people, right? And that can be hard. And so I led people very poorly for an extensive amount of time. I would argue it was my favorite thing to do at the time. Very much so. My favorite thing to do was to get people and be like, come on, we're going to do bad kid stuff. So where we're going, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a fun time, right? But again, it comes apart. It's a part of it. It comes with it. When we are looking people in their eyes and really trying to figure out who they are, we find out that it takes a few things from us to do that. One of those things is love. The other thing is attention. The other is time. And the last one is intentionality. And like, when you compile all of those things, right, you give people confidence. And confidence is like not what we really think it is. I actually heard a definition recently and I've been like running around screaming it and I forgot to put it on this paper, but I'm going to tell you guys exactly what confidence actually is. Confidence is the compilation of courage and competence. Because when you are informed enough, there's no reason to feel shy about it. My wife asked me earlier today, how do you feel? Are you nervous? It's like, no, honestly, you're probably more nervous than I am. Because I feel competent in what I know about mentors because I've been able to live it. I've been able to see it. I've been able to experience it all the way into today. Today, a young man by the name of Derek was supposed to be here. He couldn't. Derek is 14 years old. I met Derek about a year and a half ago through my relationship with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I run their group mentoring program. It's a program where we kind of handpick kids that grew up similar to me in some ways, grew up different than me in other ways, and I spend time with them. I love on them. I tell them the right thing whenever I can. I tell them the truth when it's necessary. I'm sure most of you with kids know exactly what that means, because sometimes you got to tell a kid the truth. But we just spend time together. And something I've noticed more recently, we added a new young man to the group a few months ago. His name is Maverick. And on Maverick's first day, this is after about a year hanging out with this group of 10 kids. Maverick's very first day, we were at Arcadia, which, are you guys familiar with Arcadia? It's one of my favorite places ever. We're at Arcadia, and I have another kid by the name of Dante who's about 15. And Maverick's mom had dropped him off, and Maverick was a little shy, as most like 6, 7-year-olds are when they're first meeting new people, right? And Dante came up to me. He goes, "Hey, Mr. Joe, is this a new kid?" I was like, "Yeah, this is Maverick. He's a new kid. You know, what's up?" He's like, "Can he come with me?" Now, backstory on Dante. Dante's a very shy child. Like, he's shy, he's goofy, he's really tall for his age, and like, he's not the person you would typically expect to be like, "Yeah, let me take this kid with me. Let me take this kid under my arm." But something I found out was through the experiences they were having with us and the attachment they were building with us, they were starting to want to do that with other people. That's how deep mentorship goes. Because if it affects me enough, I affect someone else, and they do it to someone else, and they do it to someone else, and eventually we'll touch everybody. That's just going to take a really long time. But eventually, that's the goal, right? Is everybody has someone that they can look up to. Everyone has somebody that they can trust and rely on. There's so many just examples that I've gotten to live. You know, when I was in high school, I may have said this a little bit already, but when I was in high school, Michael asked me, he said, "Hey, are you going to go to college?" And I was almost like, "Yeah, that's the hope, right? Like, maybe, fingers crossed." And he asked me, he said, "Well, could you make a list of the schools that, like, aren't too far out that you'd like to go to?" And me being like how I'm like, oh, 400 miles ain't that far away, right? Like, we'll do it. And so I gave Michael this list of schools in Kansas, in Missouri, in Oklahoma, and in Arkansas. And for my senior surprise, he said, "I'm going to take you to all of those schools, and I'm going to pay for it, and we're going to get you to whichever school you want to be at." I have 12 siblings. My mother and father would not have the time. My grandparents did not have the time. But here is this guy that I randomly met in 2009. Our relationship does, in fact, go back that far, and it lasted most of the last previous war that we were involved in. He was in the military, and even when he was overseas, there was still constant investment. If it wasn't from him, it was from his wife, who I would argue I developed just as good of a relationship with. They now have a daughter that's the same age as my daughter. And this is the man who signed up to intentionally mentor me. But back to the point, he took me to visit all of these schools, and I ended up going to the U of A on a full ride scholarship, right? Then I dropped out and got addicted to drugs. That's how that happened. For any of you wondering about the timeline, that's exactly how that happened. I would later get sober. Thanks, Nick. He doesn't know it, but he's a big part of that. The day I decided to become sober, I had spent probably a solid week using every day. And on like day 7, I was very literally like, I'm going to kill myself. I have nothing to live for. I have no happy points. And I called Nick because I had no idea who else to call. Like, I had like blew off a lot of relationships and friendships I had. My mentors were still around, but I was embarrassed, right? Because here's this kid that y'all have poured all of these investments into, whether it's time or money or energy or effort, whatever it may be, right, that has failed. And so I went to Nick, and Nick told me, he said, "Bro, you're going to be okay. You're just out of all the happy chemicals right now." He was right. You use enough drugs, you run out of happy chemicals. And that's exactly what had happened. But had it not been for Nick that day, I probably would have done it. Had I had to spend my day alone that day, I probably would have done it. Had it not been for the dozens, if not hundreds of people that have invested in me time over time over time again, I probably wouldn't be here. I think something really important for all of us to remember is hope is a hard thing to grasp in a world that's difficult to live with, right? But hope usually comes from people and from experiences. And if you can give that to someone else, you 1000% should, right? Which leads me to the ending of this, right? I know it's kind of been like a fast 20 minutes, but the ending of this is this: get involved. Whether you know it or not, you can do something about kids like me. You can do something to help kids like me. Kids that hopefully will grow up to end up like me. Today, I'm a college graduate. I'm a published author. Thanks to that lady right back there, actually. I didn't mention her in this, but when I decided to do poetry, it was at her workshops. She told me I was good at it. I didn't believe her, and then she told me to write a book, so I did. Then she paired me with the lady to help me edit that book. Mentorship. Straight up providing for people and giving to people. So if any of you have the chance or have the opportunity to go out and get involved, do it. Right now, there's 2 people from Big Brothers Big Sisters sitting right back there. If you want to become a mentor, talk to them. If you want to get involved with other stuff and just get involved with the community, come talk to me. I'll tell you all about Potter's House. Go talk to Lakeisha. She'll tell you all about Mighty by Design and the amazing things that all of these different nonprofits are doing right here in our community to impact people, to make a difference, and to change lives, and to create better futures. For me, that's exactly what happened. Most of the kids in my neighborhood that I grew up with still sell drugs. They are still actively gangbanging. they don't live successful lives. Today, I partner with a bunch of different nonprofits to like literally do my dream job. What I do for a living all day, and my wife knows this, I would do it for free. If everybody said, "Hey, we're gonna stop paying you," I'm still gonna keep doing it. Like that is a blessing. That is a blessing when I get to see what could have been and what is, and I also know the line that made the difference, and that line being all of those people. To finish this, I want to read off a few names, right? Because I feel like that is only right to give credit where credit is due, and credit has only been given to a few people here. So, big thank you to Sean Schwartzman, who runs Potter's House. Big thank you to Michael from Big Brothers Big Sisters, who I still hang out with regularly. Like we've known each other like 18 years now. It's not going anywhere. Like our daughters spend time together. You know, to Josh, who runs Hark and the Accelerate Foundation. Josh taught me how to love my wife through him loving his wife. A lot of times people are scared to love their significant other in front of people. He was not. And he made it known that she was the most important thing in his life. And mine's back there, just in case you guys didn't know that. She didn't want me to say that, but she's right back there in the pretty dress. But that's her. To Rebecca, to John, to Chad, to Lance. Those people showed me how to work. You guys see what I'm saying? Mentorship is never just one area. They all showed me how to work. They all showed me how to give a full effort to people that paid out to something great. And to David, Jasper, JP, Steven, Lakeisha, Ray, Nick, y'all may not know what y'all did for me, but I'm very gracious. And I hope me getting up here and talking to this crowd of strangers at least lets the crowd of strangers know that what they did was impactful, and you guys can do the exact same thing. Thank you.